heartbreak. It's the first thing you think of in the morning. It's the last thing I think of every night. I'm thankful that he's with me in spirit at all times. On November the 6th, my husband was at work and he received the worst phone call a parent could ever get. Our daughter called as she lived here and told us that there had been 4 people, a shooting at Superbike, and there were 4 victims. Of course, the first thing my husband did was try to contact the shop, and no answer. He called me at home and told me our son could be dead. And it was like somebody was stabbing me in my heart. By the time he got home, I was walking around in delirium, and he got away, whatever, because we had absolutely no idea how many people were involved, what had happened. We did not know if he was dead, if he was alive, if he was involved in it, merely that there had been a shooting. At the time we were living in Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, my husband came home and grabbed me up and said, "We've got to get ready and go." So I'm sure, thankfully, God gave me the support and the strength to gather the things that we needed to prepare for what could be the worst period of our life. We got in the car. It was a 5-hour drive, most miserable weather that you can absolutely imagine. Horrible. My husband was crying all the way. We were receiving phone calls from people all over, all of our friends from all over the United States, telling us that we were in their prayers. 29 years old, the father of 2 young children, sons, 3 and 17 months. If you're not traumatized enough with the loss of your child, the fact that you know that those children will never, ever know their father, the wonderful man that he was, the wonderful father that he was, a great brother he was, that he'd be missing from not only our life, but the life of all the people and all the people in his lifetime that we have bonded with friends that are as like family. That those children will never hear stories of his childhood, his adult life. They will never hear his voice, hear him talk about factors that influenced his life and the lifelong friends that he loved dearly and that they loved him. Questions race through your mind. What possibly could be so wrong that you would walk in mid-daylight and shoot and kill 4 people? Absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely no answer to that. Except horrific. If perhaps you were mad or you needed to learn how to ride a motorcycle, perhaps you might ask. He would have been happy to show you how to ride a bike. One of the biggest impacts in my life, I have 2 children. I have a daughter, Katie, that'll be up shortly, is the fact that I realize that I will never see my son and my daughter playing with each other's children all together. As a result, you'll learn later, My daughter lost a son the following December in her 7th month of pregnancy. His name is Thomas Allen. He gained his wings yesterday. He would have been 14 years old. The irony of the whole thing is that my son has that child in his care in heaven. My elderly parents were living with us. I had to watch them mourn, not understand. All of our holiday traditions changed. Every special day in our life changed. Birthdays, holidays. Never, ever to be the same. Replaced by the daily horror of not knowing who. Why? Why was my biggest question. Why? Instead of deadening the silence, my broken heart in so many ways, I learned to adjust to what new normal is in my life. And it's not normal. We lived 5 hours from our family that we loved and longed to be with. My husband was the president of a company. We stayed there for 2 years, wanting to be here until he walked away from that position. To be here with our family, and more importantly, to be here and make sure that law enforcement was doing their job and solving this crime. Everyone was a suspect in our eyes. Only person I knew 100% didn't do it was me. Began receiving information from people who had submitted tips through the years that felt strongly that the tips were never investigated properly, or other information, whatever. People seeked us out from all avenues. I don't even know how they get a hold of us. The stress mounted. I spent the next 11 years being an armchair detective, communicating with Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office. The frustration only continued to mount. I'm sure they hated to see my name come across that phone call because I was determined we would find out who and why. All the while, one of the detectives had told us, keep it out in the media. Do what you can to keep it out there. So we did. At one point, we had 12 billboards with his face. The face that he looked like on November the 6th. And quickly, he gained weight to change his appearance. Some people sit back and let it go. I'm not able to do that. Rather, Tom and I decided to do everything humanly possible to get answers. We wanted his children to know what happened to their father and his friends and coworkers. We wanted to seek justice. Did not want to go to my grave not knowing who or why. I feel like we've been living in a glass box for 13 years when all this happened. 15 years actually. Our neck's never the same. Everywhere you go, everybody sees you and they recognize you because you've been on TV. Not because you wanted to, but because you had to. Because you had to make sure that your son didn't die in vain for no reason. Nothing or anyone can steal the love or the memories that I hold in my heart. Brian is with me every day of my life. His beautiful smile, that blonde hair, And oh, those blue eyes that sparkle like the stars in the sky. 13 years later, on November the 5th, 2016, roughly 10 o'clock, we were summoned at about 9 o'clock while we were, believe it or not, finally, the day after we'd had a vigil on Friday to commemorate the lives and all the not only Superbike, but all the very unsolved cases that this community had. We recognized all of those. It wasn't about Brian and Superbike. It was about everybody, every single case. We get a phone call. We're finally celebrating with a friend who done a lot of private investigative work for us, pro bono. And come home. We need to talk with you. We get phone calls from our daughter. We get phone calls from Melissa. You know, something's going on. We receive texts from a few detectives. You're in my heart. We love you. We knew something's up. Well, obviously, the private investigator that's with me says something's up. So we know. Our heart already tells us. We know. So we go home from Greenville, me trying to drive. We're taken into our home, and we're told that they've made an arrest. And that somebody has confessed to it. Confessed to it. Of course, Kayla had already told law enforcement that he had proudly boasted about this. Life to never be the same. Counseling through the years, medication from the day he died, to be able to get a good night's sleep, level your moods, and be able to function, to make your life bearable, you can say. Only recently, I was able to take some time away, my husband and I, for ourselves as a family. Unfortunately for us, my husband and I have taken an impromptu vacation to Aruba. We get back. Following day, we get the news that our son is dead. In my mind, I'm associating that fact. I'll never leave. If I leave, I'll come back. I'll lose somebody else. I've already lost two people. Very important people in my life. Because of the man sitting at that table, Brian Lucas is gone from our lives forever. Even more heartbreaking is that his two sons do not know their father, who loved them, and it has changed our relationship with our grandsons.